Hi, and welcome back to Focal Point AFR Talk. Brian Fischer is my name. The program is Focal Point, the home of muscular Christianity on Conservative Talk Radio. Got a column. I don't think I'll be able to get to it today, but Camille Paglia, we talked about here before the Christmas break. She's an ardent feminist, has been a feminist and a lesbian for decades. And she says, we are committing suicide as a culture in the West because we are neutering our males. We are emasculating the males in our culture. We are neutering the maleness in our culture. By the way, we're educating boys. Our whole entire education system is designed around the way that girls learn, not the ways that boys learn. We're restricting recess, where these boys who are active and energetic because they are boys can't burn off that energy so they can focus and concentrate in the classroom. We're diagnosing their energy as an illness and drugging them to the eyeballs with Ritalin and other sorts of things. And by the way, I got another piece. I'm not going to be able to get to that either, maybe later in this week. But the alarm is being sounded now by a lot of medical professionals who believe that ADHD is being way overdiagnosed, that boys who are just normally active males are being diagnosed with this disorder. I mean, that's what the D stands for in ADHD, attention deficit hyperactive disorder, like it's a form of mental illness of some kind. So they're being diagnosed as, with some kind of a disorder when they may be nothing more than active, energetic males being what God has designed them to be. And we're now punishing that. We're making it some kind of offense against the social order to be a male. And so we're drugging them to try to induce this kind of stupor so they will behave in class. And one of the reasons these guys are concerned, these medical professionals, is now the next move is to try to get adults diagnosed with ADHD. In other words, what these medical professionals are saying, look, the people that are pushing ADHD are the drug manufacturers. I mean, they've got a vested interest in getting as many doctors as possible to diagnose ADHD, so they will prescribe drugs, and Big Pharma can make bank off of this. That's where it comes from. It's Big Pharma that's driving the bus on this deal. And now they virtually saturated the child market. They pretty much saturated. They've got about as far as they can go to get mass diagnoses of ADHD and mass prescriptions. If they want to expand the market, they've got to go after adults. So that's now the new trend in diagnosis, is to diagnose adults with ADHD so they can get them hooked on these drugs as well. So anyway, Camille Paglia's point is, man, we are demasculating this culture. We are committing suicide. Males are intimidated by aggressive feminists. They're afraid to open their mouths. They're afraid to speak. They're afraid to say what they think for fear that they're going to be tagged and demonized as sexist. So all of that is going on. So this is all that to get back to the fact this is the home of muscular Christianity on Conservative Talk Radio. Now let's go to the phones. 888-589-8840 is the number to call, 888-589-8840. If you'd like to weigh in on what we've been talking about, creation, evolution, whether a politician can be trusted with power who doesn't believe in a creator, whether peaceable separation is the only alternative to bloodshed in America, as Walter Williams suggests, and I agree with him. Love to have you call in on that. Let's start with Jim in Columbus, Mississippi. Jim, Columbus, Mississippi, welcome to Focal Point. What's on your mind?
Good afternoon. I apologize for the crud that I've got. I've been under the weather a couple of days.
Well, I hope you'll be feeling better quickly.
It was reassuring to hear you making reference to portions of the Declaration of Independence at the beginning of the program. At the very end of your comments in the first segment, you said, my goal is to restore the Constitution. The Constitution can't be restored unless the ideological underpinnings that are in the Declaration are restored. And until we're versed in that, until our conversation is directed toward those precepts, the Constitution will fail because we're so divided. And it's our ability to be united on those precepts that even allows for the Constitution to even work.
Mm-hmm.
And Walter Williams is right. the Declaration was a divorce paper from Great Britain. And it stated the reasons why, and we're at that same impasse with the left. Thank you, Brian.
All right, Jim, you're welcome. Appreciate the call. 888-589-8840, 888-589-8840. And Jim is right that the Declaration of Independence was in the nature of divorce papers that were sent to the King of England. We are divorcing you. We're going our own way. There was a time in Israel's history where God issued divorce papers to the nation of Israel. Why? Because of their spiritual adultery, their spiritual infidelity. We did the same with the crown. That's what the Declaration of Independence is. It's a peaceable separation. Now, it resulted in war because the crown insisted on using force to invade what was now a sovereign and independent nation. In other words, July 4, 1776, remember the founder said, we are and of right ought to be a sovereign nation, independent, took our place among all the sovereign states in the world. So we became, July 4, 1776, by the will of the American people, invested in our chosen representatives at the Continental Congress, we became a sovereign and independent nation at that point. Now, so that meant that the war that we fought against Britain was not a war of rebellion. It wasn't insurrection. We were an independent nation now who were being occupied and invaded by a foreign army to whom we had no allegiance. We had separated ourselves from any allegiance to the crown. So it was a war to protect our independence, a war to protect our national sovereignty. And don't forget, in this divorce statement, as Jim was alluding, this is what the founder said, and this is as true today as it was in 1776. Whenever any form of government becomes destructive of these ends, it is the right of the people to alter or to abolish it and to institute new government, laying its foundation on such principles and organizing its powers in such form as to them shall seem most likely to effect their safety and happiness. And that's how you do it peaceably. That's a peaceable way to do it. You peacefully separate. Look, we believe the form of government you are imposing on us is not working. It's not protecting our rights. We are meeting together in Congress assembled or whatever the format happens to be, and we are going to institute a new form of government, and we're asking you to accept that. We're asking you to acknowledge that. We will peaceably separate, and everybody will be happy. Everybody that wants a powerful, intrusive nanny state, they can go over here and they can have it. If you want freedom and liberty, you can go over here and you can have that. And by the way, a number of states, South Carolina is one of them, Missouri getting ready to do the same thing. They're going to make Obamacare null and void in their states. I mean, that's essentially, they are seceding from Obamacare. They are seceding from the onerous burden of Obamacare. South Carolina getting ready to do it. Missouri is on track to do the same thing. Several other states considering the same thing. 888-589-8840. Let's go to Paul in Dallas, Texas. Paul, welcome to Focal Point with Brian Fischer. What's on your mind?
Yes. First of all, Happy New Year.
Happy New Year to you.
Thank you. I read the statement by the one gentleman about the, mutually agreed separation.
Yeah.
While conservatives would consider that a great option, and, that's the kind of solution that is amenable to the conservative mind, I think the real problem is you're not going to get any peaceful separation from leftist, progressives, liberals, because their entire ideology, their real goal when you strip it away, is to own and control you and everybody and everything. Mm-hmm. So the idea of a you live over here and you live by your standards and I'll do that with mine, that's a conservative principle. Mm-hmm. That's personal responsibility and individuality. The liberal mind is no. I want your wealth. I want to control how much you can own. I need to plunder your wealth to make my social programs work. There's not a chance a liberal progressive is going to let a conservative person live their own life. They want to own us, and they want to dictate everything.
Well, and part of the problem there too, Paul, is right now you've got so many of the levers of power in our culture are in the hands of liberals who believe that. They believe in what the new mayor of New York called the heavy hand of government. I mean, he used that phrase, the heavy hand of government. He says, I believe in it. I'm a believer in the heavy hand of government. He's an outright socialist. In fact, he's really a communist is what he is. And he's now the mayor of New York. He's going to be worse than Bloomberg. And here's the problem, Paul. a lot of the levers of political power now are in the control of people who want to control everybody's life. They will not let us peaceably separate. I think that's your point. They won't let us do it.
Exactly. It's not in their DNA. In fact, the only way their ideology can survive is if they have enough independent, productive people to parasitize off of to support their economic utopia.
Yeah. Well, that may be another reason why they would not want to see any kind of separation. You look at the states which are the most productive, where there are the most jobs, where income is going up, where unemployment is declining. Almost all of them are red states. They're states that are controlled by Republican or conservative governors, conservative legislatures, and that's where the growth, the economic growth is. And the blue states, which are heavily invested in welfare and bigger government and more government programs, they've got to have some place to get money to fund all those programs. So they've got to have, like you were saying, they've got to have the red states because they're parasites, and they've got to have some kind of host where they can get the nutrients that they want to run their inflated government programs. All right, well, thank you, Paul. I appreciate the call very much. So Walter Williams, and I believe all conservatives, just as Paul and Jim have said, we believe in peaceful separation. We believe that people that want nanny government, if that's what they want, if they choose that, we are fine to let them have that. Just go do that somewhere else and let us have the form of government and the liberty and the freedom that we cherish. Let us go back to constitutional principles and be freed from the intrusive, tyrannical hand of government. And as Paul indicated, the ones that are not likely to accept that scenario are liberals. Conservatives are happy to let people live life politically the way they want. They just don't want to be forced to adapt. But liberals are not willing to play by those rules. Back after the news, Focal Point AFR Talk.